Okay, so the British move is over. The Native Americans have chased the French Marines away. So now it's time to draw another chit out of the bag. Here we go, and it is Red Officer 2. So Red Officer 2, which is the officer over here by the cabin with the Rangers and the irregular skirmishers with rifles. There. So it's British officer number 2 has been activated. But before we do his activations or command initiatives, the British players have decided that they will use the 2 chits of the flags to do sharp practice on the British regulars. So they will use those to reload, and then the Officer 2, he is going to activate the irregular skirmishers to tap reload their guns with one action, then to fire at the French line in the field over there, and then to use their extra dice of movement to skedaddle back a bit. So we'll do those rolls and get that all done, and then the Rangers will move and have a shot at the regulars as well, if they can get into a position where they can see that. So the irregulars are going to tap reload and then shoot. So there's 6 figures in that group. Right, so the tap reload means that even though they're loaded with rifles, because it's a quick reload, it's not as good, so they're now counted as if they were firing at muskets. So the French line is at long range, so the rifles need 6s to hit, and not 1 hit in that lot. So they've missed. They too quick, and the final roll for them will be 1 dice for movement, and they actually only move back 2 inches, so they move back 2 inches. Okay, so now that's done, the Rangers are now going to be activated. So with their activations, they're going to do the move and then a shoot. So we'll roll 2 dice for their movement. So it's 1 is their normal move, but because they're light infantry, they also get extra movement. So here we go. And I have rolled, sorry, I should have moved that around earlier. That's a 10, their movement. Okay, so 10 for their movement. Okay, so the Rangers have actually now moved 10 inches. This has put them into long range shot of the French line over there. So we'll come down to the dice tray and roll for that. So 6 figures in the group, and they will be hitting on long range 6. First fire will take it to 5. light infantry will take it down to 4. So that's 6 dice hitting on 4s. 6 dice hitting on 4s. 1 hit. I don't know if you can see that fine. I'll just zoom in a little bit, but yeah, 1 hit. So 1 hit, and so the French regulars will take a test. They are going to be counted as light cover, so they need a 6 to kill, 4 or 5 to add a point of shock, and it's a 2, so it is a miss. So a lot of firing from the British, but at this stage ineffectual, which is good for the French. Okay, so while the Brits contemplate what's happened there, we'll do the last draw. There's only 2 chits left in the bag, so let's see what comes out. Here we go. And it is a blue flag. Blue flag. So the last one in there should be the Tiffin, and there we go, Tiffin. So that is the end of that round. Okay, so because we drew the Tiffin and that was the last one out of the bag, the French couldn't use the flag because all their units had been activated. So we'll now start again. I've put all the discs back into the bag, and the first one out will be blue 1. So blue unit number 1 will be activated, or I should say officer. I must get used to saying officer. So blue officer number 1, who is in fact the French line unit over there, who at the moment are standing presented, ready to fire. French officer number 1, who is attached to the line in formation, has been activated. So he's going to activate the line. Now, the plan for them, at the moment they are presented, but they are too far back to fire at the British because there's 6 inches of terrain between them. The part of the line had fired before at the Indians and had managed to put 1 shock on them. So I'm going to have to advance towards the British line. Hopefully if I advance far enough on 1 activation, I'll then fire an uncontrolled volley. Now this means that if I then, the next time they come up, I want them to stop, I'm going to have to make a dice roll to see if they will actually do that. So let's get on with it. So first off, we'll come down to the dice tray and I will roll for their movement. Now I need a high enough move, and they've got 4 inches of movement. Okay, so I'm going to go and move them and then I'll come back. So the French have moved forward. Now I rolled a 4, but because they're going through disrupted terrain, they actually lose 1 pip off the dice, so it goes down to 3. So they moved 3 inches forward, and that has enabled them to be within 6 inches or over. It's less than 6 inches away from the edge of the field, so they've now got clear line of sight out of the field. So they're going to fire. Now there's 15 of them because they've had 1 casualty. I'm going to use the second command initiative for the officer to boost that to 16 dice, but they are only hitting on 6s. So we'll come down here. I've got the dice ready, all ready to roll. and let's see what we can do. So that's 16 dice hitting on 6s only. Oh, we've got a few here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. So that's 6 hits altogether. So we'll now roll for shock and kills, and they're in the open, and so I will be needing targets in the open, 6 to kill, 3 to 5 for shock. So 6 is kill, 3 to 5 shock. So here we go. Okay, so there's no kills, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shock. So that's 5 shock on the British line. So that is not bad. So 5 shock on the British line. Okay, so I will discuss with the British players how they want the shock to go. So there we go, 5 shock onto the British line units. Look, okay, so the British line has had a lot of shock put on it, 5 altogether. So what's happened is that that unit has 2 shock, that unit has 2 shock, and the last one on the end has 1 shock. So we will now get on with the next draw for a chit to come out of the bag. So I'll just get those, start shaking them up, shaky, and got them around a bit, and here it goes. Next chit out is a red flag. So a red flag. So we'll carry on, get the next one out, and the next one is blue number 3. Blue 3, which is the officer with the Courrier de Bois, which is these guys over there. So they are, that officer is now activated. So officer number 3 for the French has been activated, and he's going to activate the Courrier de Bois, who are going to fire. Now they're armed with rifles, which means that once they fired it will take 2 activations for them to reload. They're going to fire at the Rangers there. Now for a group, single group of figures, they have a 180-degree firing arc, so the Rangers are well within that firing arc, and they are also at 12 inches. So the Courrier de Bois are going to fire at close range. So looking up on the tables, they are hitting on normally at that range, close range 4 to 6s, but they haven't got any firing dice variables, so they can't add any extra dice to the firing, so they'll just have the 6 dice, but they have some firing adjustments. They've not fired in the game, so they will get the first fire bonus, so that's a +1, and they will also get light infantry skirmishers firing, which is a +1 as well, so they've got a +2 to their dice roll. So instead of hitting on 4s to 6s, they're going to hit on 2s to 6s. Okay, so let's see how that goes. We'll bring the camera down to the old dice tray so you can see, just zoom out a little bit, gives a better shot. So 6 dice hitting on 2s to 6s. Let's see what we can do. And that is 6 hits. So a very, very, very good shot. So now we need to see what the result of those hits are going to be. So target is in the open, and it is 6s to kill, 3 to 5 for shock. So 6s to kill, 3 to 5 shock. Okay, so I've got 2 dead and 2 shock to go on the Rangers. So that's 2 dead and 2 shock to go on the Rangers. So in the last section, the French Courrier de Bois fired at the Rangers, and I got it slightly wrong because they'd actually did 3 points of shock, not 2, plus the 2 kills. So the Rangers actually have 4 men left and are on 3 points of shock. So we're now going to draw the next chit out of the bag and see what happens. So we'll just come down to the dice tray. There we go, and get ready for the next draw. So I've got the bag. Jumble them up a little bit, and the next one out is red 4, which is the subordinate officer down here by the British Light Infantry. So we'll have to see what the British want to do with him. Okay, so the British have decided, with Officer 4 being activated, he's attached to the light unit, so they are going to take 1 point of shock off. So they were on 2 points of shock, so they've now reduced that to 1. So from there we'll go back to the bag, and we will now draw the next chit out of the bag to see what happens next. So just stir it around a bit, and out comes the chit, and it is a blue flag. And the next, so we'll carry on from there and we'll go to the next chit, and the next chit is a blue 2, so that's French unit 2 would be activated. Well, the officer 2, and the officer 2 is the officer in charge of the guys at the back here who ran off in front of the Indian charge. So they're there. So it's a pretty straightforward thing for me to do, because what they will actually do is they will turn round and reload, because that's all that they can do on this go. So that's what they are going to do. French officer number 2 has rallied his men, and they are at the edge of the battlefield, facing possibly an attack by the British native allies. So now it's time to draw another chit from the bag. So we'll come down to the dice tray and we'll get on with that. So here we go, another chit out of the bag. Mix them up, and here we come, and it is a blue flag. That's a blue flag. So the French now have got 2 blue flags out, and the British have got 1 flag out. And the next one will be Red Officer 3, and Red Officer 3 is with the native contingent. So Red Officer 3, I couldn't find him for a minute, is up here by the rocks with the native contingent. So that could play very nicely for the British.